Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another extraordinary episode of Peace Talk 166. Shout out to those of you in the live chat. Welcome, Sunny Days. Welcome to the membership program. Thank you. Greetings, Infinite Souls. I'm very grateful for all of you who are watching this live or watching the replay. Today's guest we have is someone who I believe you might be very familiar with if you frequent the live chat, and you may and you may know. She has.
I'll be in the chat heavy.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. She's read my human design, and it was divine. We'll definitely go more into that, but I would like to welcome to you, Lady Chezza. Thank you very much.
Infinity game. What's up, y'all?
Dang, let's get it.
It's weird not being in the chat. I'm gonna be honest,
I was
but
going to say
appreciate this.
it's nice to see you up here. You know, that's very interesting.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this. Good timing. Last week was weird, right? I mean, in a good way.
I mean, I'm used to the weirdness, so it was definitely just part of a rigmarole. But oh yeah,
Absolutely.
where are you based in?
Right now, Atlanta.
Oh, so you're in Atlanta. Okay.
Yeah, right now, Atlanta. I just got here from Brooklyn not too long ago. My film industry mentors are here, and so it's easier for me to get work if I'm here than it is if I'm in Brooklyn because I'm in like the office production side and not post. So it's like if you want to be in Post House, New York is the place to be. If you want to be on set, go to LA. If you want to be in, I mean, here's good on set too, but like this is a big production industry here, so I'm just taking the chance to be here.
Now you got me super curious. I wanted to ask how long you've been in Brooklyn, and also I'm really interested about your work in film, which is super awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so I moved to New York in 2010. I'm originally from Houston. I'm a H-Town girl. I feel like we all look alike, so they're probably now you're probably like, yeah, that makes sense. I feel like every woman in Houston looks alike. But
Texas.
I Texas big time. I moved to New York in 2010, and it was the place that just held me. I love New York so much. Right now, we beefing a little bit right now. I needed a break.
Did the pandemic ruin New York for you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I spent the last 3 years just so house locked and like borough locked, and yeah, it was rough. And I feel like I came back outside, and it was just a completely different place, and it was strange, and it was odd. It was just not good. I didn't love it. Oh, sweet.
I used to do background acting in California just for like a few months. My sister is pursuing like acting in Cali, and she hooked me up with how to join the agency. So I don't know too much, but I really love that you mentioned you're on the set side and the post production.
Yeah, it's like the office production side. So there's office production, there's set work, there's post house work. A lot of my friends in New York in like the post, the editing side. So I'm more into my track that I want to go down is like production coordinator up, and try to work that up into like the DGA, producer side of things. And then independently, I'm working on a show that I started working on before COVID. It used to be called Wonder Women, but we're changing the title now. And it's a travel show based on like focusing on women in other countries and different things that they do, art, activism, food, everything of that nature. So hopefully in October we'll be going to Mexico City to shoot that. So my friend whose house that I'm in here in Atlanta, she's a production coordinator moving up to line producer. She's been in the industry for a long time. And so it's nice to have mentors, because if you don't have a mentor in the film industry, it's very easy to not know how to navigate your career. And when you move up into union space, you can kind of mess your whole career up if you don't really know what you're doing and what jobs to take.
Okay.
It's very tricky, and it's by design. You know what I mean? It's always by design that they make it tricky like that. But I feel very privileged to have mentors. Yeah.
No, it's very amazing. That whole production side. I know, like in my youth, tapping in the Gemini, like I've always been very passionate about being on stage. And now that I'm tapping into like the Cap Taurus, like I've come to really enjoy production and directing. Like just to spend more time there. I'm looking for stars now to produce and to like.
We're so the same in that way. I wanted to be an actress when I was a kid. That's all I wanted to be. And on some straight up pure Gemini stuff. Like if you asked me as a kid why I wanted to act, it's because I could do anything I wanted to do in a movie. That was my thought process. I can be anything I want to be in a movie. So that makes sense. Just let me act. I can be the president. I can go to space. I can do whatever. So very Gemini.
I'll be right back.
Yep. I can't see everybody in the chat. Oh, I was on the wrong thing. Hey y'all. All right, I'm gonna just join the chat. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, I thought it was interesting you said 2010, because 2010 was the year I moved from New Jersey to El Paso, Texas. And I grew up, I was born in Phoenix, but I grew up in Jersey my whole life. I moved to New York, and my sisters were born in Queens and Harlem. Or Harlem and Queens. Then we moved to New Jersey, grew up in Jersey. But the thing is, like, I've never really experienced New York as like an adult. I never visited New York. Like I always kept to myself. And then by the time I was of age, I went to college in Maryland, and then 2010 I moved to El Paso. So I've always been curious about what New York is like, and for you to love it so much too. Like, what do you love about it? Which is cool. I love the beef between Jersey and New York too. Like I always make
I
fun
know,
of
right? I think for me, you know, and it's interesting because I can bring some human design elements into what I love about New York, because I've tried LA too. I've tried LA 3 times. And on astrocartography wise, LA is my Mars crossing my ascendant line. And so LA literally tries to kill me every time.
Mars. Interesting. Okay.
It tries to kill me every time. And the only way I can really harness that energy is by hiking like almost every day. But I have to be really active and do a lot of really intense things in LA to keep it from trying to murder me. It's just not my place. But New York, for someone like myself that's non-sacral, New York being such a dense city and I love that it's pedestrian going.
Dense or dance?
Dense. It's a very dense city. I love that it's pedestrian. So the independence of that, I really love. And because it's so dense, there's so many opportunities just for that kismetic destiny energy to take root. And I didn't move there with any kind of goal in mind. I had a dream that I lived there one day, like a literal dream. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna move to New York. And then I just did. I was just doing some wild shit in my 20s like that.
Right.
And I remember someone giving me the advice, just get a couple jobs and see what happens. And then get a couple jobs and just be here heavy for 2 years and see what happens. And it went from me working at a coffee shop to my manager at that coffee shop going and becoming the general manager of like this historic restaurant. And she walked into the coffee shop one day and said, "You're coming to work with me." And she made me a hostess and a floor manager. And I made way more money than I had ever made. I met all kinds of people, and I just really started getting into the vibe of New York. And then when I lost that job, I ended up selling, like working for a weed delivery service for 3 years, just randomly, because my dealer's person, needed a runner. So I ended up doing that, and that put me in the homes of all kinds of people, and just it was just that. It was just these little steps, these little keys, this little magic that would just happen all the time. And that has been my experience in New York. And next thing I know, I have roommates that are dancers and that are from Europe. And now I'm traveling to Europe every year. And I'm, because I have people that are from there and I can stay in their homes. And New York just opened up such a world for me and really made me such a cultured and tough person, which my eighth house Capricorn energy needed that anyway, but it like hammered me.
I really love that description because when I ask that from people who aren't really from there,
Yeah.
I think they get, because like, how do I say it? Like, okay, no, because it's a criticism that I feel. Obviously, if you're like in the wealthier parts of New York versus like the more, and that's like in any city. But
Mhm.
the reason why I'm asking is because I also never really explored New Jersey like that as well, and that's something I
Yeah.
want to really explore. A criticism I get of that East Coast environment, would you get the and it's very mixed. Like people who really love New York are obviously people who know the place and are from there, and that's why I'm really grateful to ask this to you. What would you
Mhm.
say to people who feel like elements of it are dirty? And of course, there's dirty places everywhere, but like there's that like and I'm asking as someone who doesn't know what it looks like. So like it's not like they're saying the whole state is dirty, but like I feel like they're bringing their
I
own
mean, yeah,
bias
it's a
or
little grimy, but I kind of find the griminess. I mean, even that, I find that griminess to be endearing in some way.
it like adds an
Like it
element to the city.
stinks in the summer, and that sucks. You know what I mean? And it's
It
hot
was
and it
it
stinks,
wasn't
and
this. Oh, it's okay.
it stinks because there's trash everywhere and everything stinks and it's tough. And yeah, there's all of that. But to me, I think those elements, and this might be weird to say, but I think all the elements about it that aren't fun is what keeps people out that don't need to be there.
Right,
It's a
right.
it's a spectrum. It's like take it for what it is. You know what I mean? Like take all of it or none of it, kind of a thing.
And that's why I appreciate your perspective because I feel like if you're not from there, like it's just an element of the town and the place. And I wonder how that's changed from like the last few decades versus now with so many people who've
It's
moved in. And
changing heavy because what happened in 2020 when we all went inside is a lot of people just left. They just moved completely out. And a lot of corporations started buying up homes, and it's even changed the rental landscape so much. And so
I heard there's
people
mass gentrification in
were
Brooklyn. Is that what you mean?
massive gentrification. People moved in mass. And the way I see it is there's all like New York's always been a transient city and there's always been like a flow. People come in, they have to like get involved in the city and they have to figure out if they can hack it. Well, what happened is a lot of people moved at once. And those people were people that didn't care as much about COVID and things of that nature. So those people were changing the landscape of the city while we were all inside our homes. And then
Mm,
when New Yorkers came back outside, we were like, oh, what is this? It's beyond gentrification. It almost feels suburbified, if that makes sense. Like
oh,
it feels different now. You know
so,
what I mean?
yeah.
Big box retail chains where mom and pops closing. It's it's different.
Which is interesting to see that trend continue like through Texas, California. I think something similar happened with
Yeah.
that too. And the homeless problem is even crazier out in California and San Francisco and LA.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's interesting to see these in these cities, but still, that's really an amazing, look, if anything, right, at New York. It's definitely, I definitely can't wait to explore it more. I know there's a lot of support for this here too, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. So, what was Houston like? I actually just spoke to my friend who's out there right now, and I always hear good things about Houston.
Houston, I know, has changed so much too, especially like the area that I'm from. I've been watching videos online of people talking about Acres Homes becoming gentrified, which is rough to
Wow.
hear because Acres Homes is so. There are two really significant schools of thought when it comes to Black people, specifically in Houston. There's Third Ward, which was upper class, Black people, and then there was like Acres Homes, which is Black people that owned a lot of land, but are very country and are very to ourselves. You know what I mean? Whereas Third Ward was more like, let's have nice homes, let's kind of be more like what white wealth is. And Acres Homes was always like, we just have our land and our horses and we're cool. You know what I mean? And so there's always been this interesting thing, like line in the sand, when it comes to kind of like Harlem and Brooklyn. If you
Mm,
think about New York, you know what I mean? There's just such a difference in culture there.
right.
And so it's interesting to see Acres Home get gobbled up in the regular old city gentrification, because it was a place where you had like so much Black land ownership. And it's just like, gone now. And that's unfortunate, because that's where I was raised. And so I'm a
Yeah.
very like country city girl. You know
Oh,
what I mean? Houston is the fourth largest city in the nation, or
right.
it used to be. I don't know if it still is. But Acres Homes is like in the city, but it has such a really country feel to it. And so I always got a mix of both, which I really appreciate. My family is cowboys and trail riders and, people like that. And Houston, I think though, I grew up, as I got older, I just kind of had a more metropolitan mind, and I felt like I needed to leave, like a lot of people do. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things about Houston. There's a lot of nuance. I could really talk about a lot of that nuance of Houston all day. You know what I mean? From like the mafia-esque way that the music industry is there. You know what I mean? Like if you know about Drake, you know about like Jay Prince and all that
Oh,
kind of
rap a
stuff.
lot. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, it gets real deep and real interesting. Matthew Knowles and like that whole thing, and all the people that have gotten gobbled up in these systems, and all the talent that comes out of Houston, and those that don't make it out because of those kinds of
Politics and stuff.
industry tie. Yeah, it's an interesting place.
That's beautiful.
Interesting place.
Rest in
Yeah.
peace, P.
Yep.
Um, so what really inspired you to move in the direction of film?
Just a deep love for it. Just storytelling. You know what I mean? Gemini rising, Mercury and Capricorn. I just like to, I love storytelling so much. And film is propaganda. So people that have good messages gotta kind of get in there. You know what I mean? We just have to get in there. And I think ultimately, if I could take over a studio, I would. You know what I mean? Because being able to like develop and greenlight stories that I know need to be told is something that maybe in my 50s and 60s that I hope that I get the opportunity to do.
That's beautiful. And I know you mentioned your rising. And what is your sun and moon for people who aren't aware?
Aqua, Sun, and Moon in the ninth house Aquarius. Well, I said Aqua, but yeah. Aqua, Sun, and Moon, and MC, all right there sandwiched together in my
That is
ninth house.
extraordinary. So cosmic. So what I love about that, I know I spoke of Leo risings with Aries suns, who are like the sun
Mhm.
god kings and queens. The aqua sun Gemini rising is just like, to me, that, but on another level, like uh that's spirit teaching. But what do you feel about that? Because I love how you equated Gemini rising to your proclivity of storytelling. you clearly are a spirit and soul teacher, right? But how do you feel in that I consider this like an author authority, but like what do you feel about the role of the narrator that Aquarius plays? Because that's so interesting in the ninth house. It's like you're active,
Yeah.
right? Which
Like it's so interesting you asked me that very specifically as the role of the narrator. I have always felt and I still feel that I am like the great observer.
right. Okay.
You
Like
know
the
what I mean?
watcher.
Yeah, I am the watcher on the wall. I feel that way. I deeply, deeply feel that way.
Right.
I have experienced so many wild things, and I've been in some dangerous situations where I have not been physically harmed. You know what I mean? And I feel like I've been in those situations because I was meant to observe them.
That's so deep. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have in
But
Scorpio?
they're Mars, Saturn, and Pluto.
There you go.
In my body, in my sixth house. Yeah.
That's so deep. That's so
Yeah.
intense too. Every time I see that aspect in the chart, I'm like, oh, you could be a murderer if you wanted to get away
Yeah, you said that.
with
It's so funny because my friend Jade is always every time, it's interesting how when it comes to myself, I'm very cool and calm. But when it comes to other people, especially people that I love, I'm not cool and calm. I have no chill. That Mars Scorpio starts jumping. You know what I mean? Like it starts jumping. I mean, y'all have seen me in the chat when people come in there getting a little weird. It's just that Mars Scorpio just jumps out. You know what I mean? It can get kind of intense, but yeah.
No, I really love that. And um you taught me a lot of how to see that because being that supreme observer, it's like you have this literally penthouse level awareness of knowing what's actually happening in a situation and why. And I don't think people
Yeah.
understand, right, how ascended of a celestial quality that is. So it helped me understand, like in Marvel there's the character the Watcher, and they
Yep.
are that race of beings, right? And I feel like the Aquarian element is how like you're detached, like you're not supposed to intervene in the affairs of what
Yep.
you observe. It's like you just have to see it, which is mind
Yeah, just
blowing.
have to watch it and be there to be able to tell the story later. I think, yeah, it's important so that we never forget. You know what I mean? And now that I'm 39, I feel like I've lived so much life. Last year, when my roommate had to leave, I had the pleasure of living with a 22-year-old.
Hmm.
And she, came out of college, spent her last 3 years of college and in New York in the house because of COVID. So she became an adult in the house. And so I had the gift of being able to teach her so much about the world just from my experiences. And it was so like cosmic because we're both projectors in human design and we're both 6'2" profile. And it was like, wow, like I'm supposed to teach you. You know what I mean? Like this
Wow, yeah,
was
I love
like
that.
we were meant to be in this house together so that I could teach you things that you didn't get to learn out here in the streets on your own. And watching her flourish from that point on, since we've gone our separate ways, has been like really cool.
And I
And I'm like,
appreciate that because like you have a lot of frauds in this field who can take advantage of that concept and be like, "Oh, see, this means it was meant to happen." But you break it down in such an objectively clear way that the results speak for themselves. And that brings me into like what I definitely admire and respect you for. I've always had a theory that Aquarius and Pisces, and even to a degree Sag and Cap, but mainly Aquarius and Pisces. I've always felt that like astrology isn't really meant for y'all because you are astrology, right? Like Aquarius is literally like the
I get
embodiment, right? And then Pisces is beyond it. So like it's not so
yeah,
like if someone was supposed to teach astrology, I would say Aquarius should teach it. But like Aquarius and Pisces, like y'all relationship with it is not the way we'll see it. I feel like I have to look at the transits to discern things that you already know without having to see the transit.
I get that. Yeah. And I've studied astrology. I got interested in astrology as a child, but it wasn't until like maybe 6, 7 years ago that I started to get very deep into astrology.
Right.
Oh, I miss y'all in the chat. I'm gonna have to type something in a minute.
I
But
love it.
but a tarot is my I guess my main kind of, the first tool that I picked up and
Yeah.
started to serve other people with was tarot. I
Okay.
went out in New York. I went to this little witch shop and I got a reading from this man, and he was like, your ancestors are like, you should be doing what I'm doing. Go find your tool of divination. And I tried different things out. I looked into Reiki, I looked into runes and just different things, and it ended up being the cards. And I love tarot because it's like text messaging with spirit is how I like to see it. You know what I mean? It's literally like texting with spirit.
I love it.
And
Yeah.
learning tarot, and this is something for anyone who does not use tarot cards or likes to get readings. If your tarot reader doesn't know anything about astrology, they don't know anything about tarot either, because you have to they correlate.
We got it. Here we go.
They correlate. You have to know. So I had to go deep into astrology to really get my relationship with tarot up the way that it, because I had a natural intuitive gift, you know what I mean? Again, texting with spirit. But to really deeply understand a lot of things about tarot, I had to learn astrology.
And it's like the scales fall from your eyes, and you start seeing all the correlations. And that's where, once again, I can only imagine how you are aware of it. Like the Aquarius sun and moon is so supreme. I'm very biased because it's my 10th house, so I look up to it, right? But like, it's just such a supreme quality. So it's like the small that I see magically, you're probably, that's just so dope. That's so dope. I love that.
It's interesting because I feel like, and this might be a human design thing in being a projector. So projector energy is like an arrow, right? We're meant for one-on-one.
Right.
And I've always felt this way. If I'm in conversation with one person and they ask me something, if I've never read it in a book or no one's ever told me, I will know the answer because I'm meant to.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
So wild. I love that.
It's very Aquarian. I know.
Yes.
I have access to any information.
But it's crazy how it's like real. Like you're literally truly embodying that. I've met a Taurus moon with the Aqua sun, and it helped me appreciate the levels of Aquarius. Like the Taurus moon, Aqua sun, I call the slow celestial, because they process the info slowly. So I've seen Aquas like this not know. Like they won't know, but then they'll guess it right and still know. And it's like a superpower. And how you said about her. Oh, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
I don't know. I'm just thinking about like the vibe of having a Taurus moon and being an Aqua sun, because so my three best friends are a Capricorn, a Virgo, and a Taurus. And what we all have in common is the Virgo is an Aquarius rising, and the Taurus and the Capricorn are Gemini risings. And I think that's really interesting. But one thing I've had to learn over time is like my role in this friendship is that I am always seeing everything from above. So when they get caught up in the ground, they can come to me to like have this bird's eye view. The tattoo on my back is an Incubus lyric. Blessed is she who clearly sees the world for the trees.
Wow.
To obtain a bird's eye is to turn a blizzard into a breeze. And that is literally my whole vibe. Is like, let me turn this blizzard into a breeze. Let me show all of you what you can't see, because you're down there walking through the woods anyway. So especially as a Taurus, like I've had to realize Tauruses feel, especially a Taurus moon, they feel every vibration so deeply, which is why they don't like when vibes are off. If you're ever around a Taurus and it just feels like, dang, can you just let me be sad? Can you just let me be? You know what I mean? No, because they feel it. They feel what you're feeling. And I wonder what that relationship is, feeling everything as a Taurus moon,
but physically, because Pisces moon feels everything too. But I wouldn't think Taurus did. So I'm really glad you mentioned that, because it's exalted too, and it grounds. But it really helped me respect that difference between Aquarius to Taurus, where Taurus has a fundamental inability to perceive outside of the physical. Like when you start to give them when you start to give them air topics, they look at you like you're crazy. And before that used to annoy me. It used to annoy me, but I respect it now because it's like they're supposed to make sure that it's real at the end of the day. Unless that Taurus has like fire or air, they just don't understand it. And it's really,
they're truly here to live in this material plane. You know what I mean? Like they are that immovable tree in the woods. But if you think about it, like the trees, the roots are connected to everything. That's why they feel the way they do.
That's true.
You know, but it is such a physical sensibility. Just like a Virgo sensibility is all in their stomach, which is why they're so nervous. You know what I mean? That Mercury, that nervous system, like they're so nervous. And like that controlling nature they have, you know, isn't because they're annoying. It's because they are able to process everything the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah. And then us air signs, Gemini comes and tries to mix it up, and then they get annoyed. Yeah, that's a huge breakthrough because, like, I've always my whole life heard what things should be, and I just reject it. Like, this is what it is, and now I understand we're in an Earth dimension. That's why. Okay, like, there's no awareness.
I like that so peaceful when I just let my Virgo friend control everything when I'm around. Yes, you got it.
Earth is like the calculators. Like, let them do the work. They do it well. Like, don't.
I don't have to do that. That's fine. You got it.
So this brings me to, I love how you said astrology helped you understand tarot more. I feel like that's what human design is helping me do with astrology. Because when I uncovered astrology, right, I felt like this is it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think that I would ever see anything that's beyond it. And human design, I feel like at first I thought it was simple as just the profiles, like, okay, you're a projector. Then when I wanted to like go to school for it, and I realized it's like a 4-year course, I was like, whoa, let me back up. Now I want to go master astrology. And I love that you do. The best readings I've ever had were from 2 Pisces. Shout out to Dylan, the spirit advisor. So amazing. And Catherine Flattery, Catherine, who also does human design. And I love the Pisces perspective. And that really helped me understand that it's an Aquarian thing. Once again, like the Aquarius, I feel, and you being a human designer, I love the way you talk about it, the knowledge behind it. And it just made me respect knowing all the lines and then having to learn the profiles and so much potential. And it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing how it aligns with the astrology and like kind of.
Because it's astrology and the I Ching. And I literally was just listening to one of Ra's lectures about it. And he talks about astrology. He was like, the thing about astrology is there's all these, you know, there's so much because the stars are huge. And the way I look at astrology is, if there's God, you know, God is the programmer and astrology is the actual coding language.
Preach.
That's how I've always looked at astrology. It's the literal coding language. And I haven't figured out the analogy for human design in that, but now that I'm learning it and embodying it, I'm like, oh, this is the more like specificity in that. Because the thing about astrology is, you know, every planet, every degree, every sign, every house has a delineation, right? Everything that we can touch and see, this AirPod case, it's white, that's Cancer. You know what I mean? Like everything that we can touch, see, and feel has an astrological, you know, master, I guess, you know, you can say. But it's up to us as magicians and as humans to figure out how to harness that power, because it's all raw power, right? Like it's, you know what I mean? Like, and as someone who has been into magic, you know, witch is the only thing I've learned how to call myself as a kid, because I grew up in a deeply Christian background, but in a voodoo culture. You know, I'm Creole, you know what I mean? But with nobody to teach me hoodoo or voodoo. So all I could really do is say, oh, I want to be a witch. You know what I mean? But growing up, like, you know, it's whatever, chaos magician, you call me whatever, I don't care. You know, I'm a magical being But I believe in harnessing all that power that exists in my chart and not just letting things happen. I
Right.
respect that there are, energies that are going to happen regardless of what I do. You know what I mean? But as much as I can harness, as much as I can point in a direction, I'm going to do that. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And human design gives me the extra keys to be able to do that, to understand how I'm wired.
And I'm so glad you brought up African traditional religions because that was, I feel like for our generation, like we have access because I learned human design was meant for the new generation, and we have access
Mhm.
to higher astrological tools that those people who did these older traditions, a lot of us are caught in between finding people who aren't frauds in the diaspora to kind of facilitate this. And the biggest lesson I learned is many of us inherited this in our blood. So we're bridging it by focusing on the new. Like I had to let go of that past of trying to do it that way and to just carry forth that wisdom in this new way. I'm glad we're able to do it like that. The first time I ever had like I remember when I had my Myers-Briggs and I found out I was an INFP, and that was a really initial breakthrough, but I felt it wasn't complete. Like it was missing something. Then I had my natal chart read, and that was like the first time I felt so seen. And
Yeah,
the next time I ever felt seen was when I realized I was a projector. That was the last time I ever,
peace, right? I remember learning my sun, moon, and rising and being like, whoa, right?
Yeah, I could imagine.
And then I learned numerology and learned I was a life path 8, and that gutted me. That like
Numerology
understanding,
too. Yeah.
oh my God, that
Yeah.
life path 8 piece really like did something for me. You know what I mean? And then learning the rest of my chart, again, you just kind of get gutted out and you start all over. It's so interesting. It's like every time I learn new information, it's like the forest gets caught on fire so the new trees can grow, in my brain. I am a emotional projector 6-2 profile.
And
Somebody asked what the projector.
I
And
learned.
you,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, and you are, because I don't know if, if Janice was asking me or you.
it's it's I didn't even know about the specific, non-specific delineations, and I learned I was non-specific recently, and it just made a lot of sense because I never get specific with my intentions, and I just
Yeah.
kind of like to keep them a certain way. But it's just human design just takes it to that other level, and I think we're in good hands that you're one of the people teaching this, one of the angels teaching this, because I think the effects of this are going to start to weigh over and put you in more prominence to be in that position. I can see you teaching this in collegiate institutions, schools, as this starts to like expand more. And could you give us a rundown, like for someone who wants to get to know human design? If we're going to look at the basics, do you start at the profiles or the lines, or uh,
Oh, that's a
how
good
do,
question. That's a great question. So I'm about 3, almost 4 years into my experimentation. So that's something to understand. As Roz calls it, experimentation is always an experiment, right? Um, I started only knowing that I was a projector. And I think it's kind of important to get the feel for that because you get the basics down. You're a projector, you're a generator, and what that type is. So I am an emotional authority projector. So the first thing that I learned, I took a year understanding, is wait for the invitation and then don't make a decision immediately. Think about it, sleep on it for a couple of days, let my emotional wave go all the way through. So if you ask me to do something right now and I'm like, no, I shouldn't say no. I should sleep on it. And then in a couple of days, I should see how I feel when that initial emotion wears off and I get clarity, right? You're
right?
self projected projector. So if I invite you to do something, you just need to sit with that and say, can I see myself doing this? And what do I see coming out of it? Am I happy? Am I satisfied? Do I feel like this is fruitful for me? Okay, great. Yeah, I want to do that. And so understanding what your inner authority is and what your type is, experiment with that and see how far it gets you. I love like teaching sacral generators about their authority. I'm so jealous of people with sacral authority, especially generators. You got all the energy in the world and you can listen
Wow.
to your gut. You know what I mean? So that whatever your gut says immediately, go with that. Like sacral people, I think one of the most interesting things about them is they make a lot of noises. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, let's go get pizza. If you're like, that's a no if you're sacral, or like, yeah, that's a yes if you're sacral. And just like how the sacral energy makes you respond to life, I think that's so cool.
And how can you tell um the types of generator or projector you are? Which
Um, So I use mybodygraph.com because that's just when I started looking it up. That was one of the. It's so many websites and types now that I think it's good to look at a few because sometimes some people will get different information. So look at a few and go with your gut on what you feel. But I use mybodygraph.com and it'll just tell you a breakdown of what you are, your profile, which are the numbers, your type, which is projector, generator, manifesting generator, reflector, or manifester, and then your authority. And so knowing your type and your authority, I think is, if you don't know anything about human design, those two things are the most important to start an experiment with, because that is the key. Your authority is the key to making right decisions. And you'll also learn that more than likely, when things are going good in your life, you're in design anyway. When you learn all this stuff, you're like, oh, that's what feels natural.
feels
When I
natural.
learned that I was a projector, I was like, oh, that makes sense of why
Yeah.
every boy I ever pursued turned me down. Every job I ever like deeply went out for turned me down. And why when I look at every successful thing in my life, it came to me.
Mm-hmm. And
Every single thing.
I love that because especially as a man, we're told to pursue and we're told to actually move forward. I remember going in to Atlanta. The two women who I initiated to go see flaked on me,
It's
and
like,
then it was and there were two Leos. It was an Aquarius woman, the one with the Taurus moon, who randomly, once I showed that I was in Atlanta, invited me out that same night, and I had the most
yeah,
magical night. And it taught me, oh, like I can't escape the design. Like it's not like I'm waiting for anything to happen. I initiated by putting myself out there, but it just really put that into perspective. Even in other places where I've initiated and it's worked, it's never really gone as far as it could have or should have because I didn't really, you know what I'm saying? Like allow, not wait, because it could be confused for waiting. But I also want to mention freaking and it will lead to my next question. Janice said something quite amazing. She said the self-projected projector is like a walking head. And I noticed that's exactly in my chart. I have MC, my AC is on my Mercury. So I'm literally like a walking head. And what could you say for the different types of authorities? You mentioned sacral, they're self-projected,
there's so
emotional.
many types of authority. Now, here's the thing, and here's why. Let me just preface it by saying that the reason that I'm doing like the 6 line sessions and things of that nature is I don't fashion myself to be a complete expert on human design, right?
And what was that website? Bodygraph.com?
Mybodygraph.com. It is
Mybodygraph.com. Okay.
attached. Yeah, I think it is a website that the Jovian archive, which is the original archives of Ra and the whole system. It's one of those that I think they are connected to in some way. And so I like it personally. HumanDesignX.com is cool too. I use that as well. Um, but yeah, there's so much to learn about human design, and I'm 3 years into my experiment. If you ask me these questions in, 4 more years from now, I may have so much more to say about it. But your inner authority, so there's emotional, there's self-projected, there's mental. Oh, here's something important to know. even if you are mental, it's still about, because human design in general is about taking us from making mental decisions. So being a mental authority doesn't mean overthinking things to death. It's like processing the information and filling it out. My friend said something so good, which is our minds are meant to process information, not make decisions. And human design helps you understand that. Like, my emotions are making my decisions. You know what I mean? Like, yes, your imagination, if you're self-projected, that's your imagination. It's not the part of your brain that is processing the information that is making those decisions. It's a different part of your brain. It's your imagination. It's something different. You know what I mean? And the whole point of human design is to get us out of the mental decisions from being, I guess the type of humans that we were before, whatever point we became nine-centered beings. And we're really supposed to be learning how to make all of our decisions in a completely different way, and not in this very static capitalist, think kind of way. You can overthink your way into some really harsh, life. And past 2027, when the mutation is full, and I think we cross over into like the cross of the sleeping phoenix, or it gets really complicated. But when we get past 2027, not being out of design, being out of design is going to get so brutal and fatal. And I'm already starting to feel that, how dangerous it can feel to make decisions out of my design. It can get really dangerous. For a fairy, I would definitely say that for like a mental projector. For like a mental, or for a self-projected, for sure. But those of us that are like emotional, it has nothing to do with our brain at all. Or
Right.
sacral, nothing to do with your brain.
So when I learned about emotional versus non-emotional, like it really, resonated, as far as I'm very non-emotional. Like, I don't really, it's like a still lake. And I didn't realize that they were people, 50% of people, I feel like, that aren't like that. Like, it's emotional, like you're turbulent. I don't know what that's like. And what was really key for me was I learned that my greatest sense is feeling. So I'm not emotional, but I sense by feeling. And it mirrored how, like, my whole life I'm like, fuck feelings. And then I realized, in order to use my power, I have to feel it. And it was like, oh, that's really weird.
Yep. Because a lot of it is about like the definitions in your body graph. So like people that are sacral, like they probably have a defined sacral. Like, I have an open sacral, which is also why I don't have a lot of energy. You know what I mean?
Okay. That's where the energy is pulled, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I have an open G center. You know what I mean? So like that will and drive, that doesn't matter as much for me.
Okay.
I have a defined spleen though, but even though I'm not a splenic authority, I can trust my fear. You know what I mean? I can trust that. And I've always felt like I have that sixth sense of danger that's just like, yo, get out of the road right now.
And
Don't go down the street. Don't do that.
Right.
Say it again.
That's the spleen.
Yep, that's your spleen. The body graph is so interesting in that way. I have an open throat center. You know what I mean? And some people have defined throat. And when we got into when I started talking to you about like repetition and things of that nature, that's kind of what I was thinking about. I'm like, people with open throat centers, you can repeat things out loud all day, but your throat center is not connected to anything. Nothing's gonna happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? You might need to learn how to embody. Embodiment might be your way of manifesting. If you have a defined throat, yeah, you can speak things. Absolutely, go for it.
In fact, that was the most fascinating part of listening to the reading, because you made a point to break down how, depending on one's placements or what's open or defined, it influences your manifestation technique and what works for you or not. I would love to do a workshop with you, maybe a webinar we can plan, and I can help host, where we can kind of break down knowing your human design and how to manifest. I think yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would love to do that. Digestion also plays a big part in things, which I've learned from human design. Like that, digestion has changed my life a lot. Like I eat after dark now. I
Mhm.
drink and like have more cooling, easy things in the daytime, and I eat after dark because I'm an indirect light digestion type. And touch is my most important sense. And so I need to make my own food
Oh, wow,
or
that's
eat things that I can hold in my hand
right.
because your sense is how your body takes in the information about your nutrition. So, like, it's really important to kind of know what that is. And environment is really important. I'm a mountain environment person. It's good for me to like be on the second floor or be up so I can see things, which makes sense because I'm an Aquarius. You know what I mean?
Right. I love
And
that.
like when you
Yeah.
start to kind of put all those things together, it's like,
I
oh,
love
it
how they
makes so much
connect so
sense.
well. And what you said that was very amazing was that it feels right. So you're not being told anything that's even new to you. It's just aligning with what's always made sense to you.
Aligning, yes. It's aligning what's made sense to me. And because we can be in our heads so much, sometimes we act against what feels right all the time. You know what I mean? We do things that don't actually feel right. We do things that aren't really natural to us all the time because society says we should. And
Right.
human design is like, stop doing whatever that boxy thing society says do, because that's probably not right for you.
Mm-mm. And Jen asked, Chezza, do you have any practices you can recommend for balancing the projector dangers?
I, for me, the most important thing has been working on my nervous system and lack mentality
Hmm.
because for projectors, being in a state of survival puts us in so much danger because that need to survive will have us feeling like we need to go chase, especially money. It's this is tough. And so take it with a grain of salt, grain of sand, because I don't want to have anybody out there homeless. I've been, you know what I mean? But when I have like taken my hands off the wheel, the way I've seen my life spiral up, as my friend likes to say, like chaos for me is definitely a ladder. Like I always spiral up. I think I'm out of control and whatever. And next thing I know, I'm up higher and way better than wherever I was before. For projectors, I think the best work to do is around lack mentality because that is what will knock you off course all day. Being afraid that the invitation won't come is what knocks us off balance all the
Yeah, I love that. So we've already covered that projectors, we should wait for the invitation and not fall into our not self bitter theme. And I
time.
mean,
Mhm.
I'm loving it. I've heard it's the age of projectors we're stepping into, so that's also pretty cool.
Yeah, we're like an upgrade from manifestors, right? Manifestors are really powerful, but like those angry little beings have like enslaved people. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh my
I
god.
love my manifestors, but they know how to make slaves out of generators, and that's the problem. And the thing about
What about
manifestors
if
is
you're a
like they don't.
manifesting generator?
And so now manifesting generators, they are generators with like a manifesting channel, but they're not
They're
manifestors,
not
so it's not the
manifesting. Okay.
same. They're really generators, they just have some manifesting properties. But the thing about manifestors is they're the only type that can initiate. Generators have to wait to respond. Yeah,
Oh,
that's what sets them
okay.
apart. They can initiate. Generators, it's like you can initiate, but you do need something to respond to. You
Oh,
know what I mean? So like you do need to be like, oh, hey, I saw some bay leaves.
right.
Damn, I want to go cook something with bay leaves right now. You just need something to respond to. Projectors, which are very powerful in the same way manifestors are, it's like to me, it's like we got a fail safe, and that fail safe is that we have to be invited. We cannot force ourselves on people or into situations. It's only right when we're invited to guide, and we're supposed to guide, not rule.
That was a
Manifestation.
major lesson when I was learning astrology because I would go out to the clubs and bars or school, and I would always initiate by, like, hey, what's your sign? What's this? And it gave me experience, but I learned the practice of it is to wait for people to want to, and it always works out better that way. And so you mentioned manifested. Well, you mentioned projector. I was going to ask, and you went a little bit into it. Could you name all of the types of profiles? Manifestors, reflectors.
Manifestors, reflectors, manifesting generators, and projectors. Sorry, did I go too fast?
No, that's perfect. I was going to ask if you could break down each one and just say like what the strategy is, the not self theme is, so everyone can get an idea. Yeah.
Reflectors are the hardest one because I don't know there many because they're the rarest types.
Okay.
But I think Teal Swan is actually a reflector.
Could you also mention how rare each one is too? I'm glad you mentioned that with the reflector, or how common.
Yeah. Forgive me though, because I may not have the exact percentages. But reflectors and manifestors are both rare because manifestors are an old type. So there's going to be a lot less and less manifestors in the world. Reflectors are the rarest. And so manifestors, their not self-theme is anger. And they're basically, their strategy is, forgive me, I don't remember the exact words with manifestors. I don't work with a lot of them. But I know that basically like they need to be inspired. So whatever they're inspired to do is like good for them. They can go learn, do whatever they want to do. Reflectors, they have the hardest strategy. They need to wait for like an entire moon cycle.
Wow.
A moon cycle. They need to wait for a moon cycle to make decisions.
And that's because they have no energy centers, right?
None. They're just open. Completely open. Wow. Completely open. Projectors wait for the invitation. Manifesting generators and generators wait to respond.
And then so generators are manifest. Okay, beautiful. And manifesting generators are like generators with just like a little extra sauce. Okay. Yeah. So what do you feel about compatibility? Because I've heard projectors and generators get along together. So how would you rate the compatibility between each type? And Janice just said, you know what's tricky? A projector pursuing a projector. Who's going to invite who first?
I talked about that with you because I was like, I want to do a peace talk with you, but I'm going to let you invite me. I'm going to just tell you that I want to do it, but I'm going to let you take the wheel. It's very tricky. Projector on projector.
Oh, God.
It's weird. So Ross says that compatibility isn't really a thing with human design because really it's like if you're in design, you can be compatible with anybody. Right. However, projectors are meant to guide the energy of generators. So there is a natural, what we would consider compatibility between projectors and generators because generators have the energy and they need the projector mind. Well, they need our receptivity and understanding to be able to guide their energy. So there is a natural balance between projectors and generators, but it's not so much a compatibility thing. Ra is kind of like, whatever, you can be compatible with anybody, just be in your design, don't be in your not self. Which I vibe with that. You know what I mean? Because I don't love how astrology, how basic not knowing the astrology makes people think that there's like this intense compatibility issue between signs. Like, sure, the way that we are can like make some friction, but whatever, just be right in the way that you're moving and you can be compatible with anybody.
And what is a generator for necessary truths?
Batteries, walking batteries, basically. Right. Batteries. You are the battery. You're the little energy of this world.
Are Michael Jackson, Beyonce projectors?
I'm not sure. The famous projectors I know are Kris Jenner, which makes sense, right? Yeah. Because all of her daughters
straight queen. Yeah, she managed all that.
Kanye is a projector.
He is,
which makes sense. Oh. And like he is a projector that's not been in himself for a long time. He's a burnout projector, you can tell. Oh. You know, and it's also why like all of his forcing of his opinions and thoughts doesn't work. You know, if Kanye would just fall to the back and be quiet and let people come to him and let it all come to him, it'd be different vibes. Yeah, we could.
I love the old and new
out of design.
I love every version of Ye. I'm biased though. It's the Gemini.
It's that Gemini kind of thing that it's like,
Yeah.
oh, Kanye, like, I get you, brother. I get you. But, like, can we just,
Oh my god.
just
Oh my
bring it in, Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is
Cardi B is a projector, and she's a great projector.
that's awesome.
Because if you think about it, she has one album.
Right.
And she features on everybody's shit, and it
And
works
she
for her
merged the
because she's
features
getting
too.
invited. She's
Yeah.
getting invited to feature, and her whole career can just be features, and she'd be just fine.
And she mercs the features too. She's
She
definitely amazing.
mercs the features. Anything she's invited to do, she's great.
No,
She's a great projector.
I really love that.
Yeah.
And I love that synopsis on the compatibility and just kind of embracing how it all works individually.
One thing that's important to say for projectors, though, is because we're non-energy types and we're so receptive, this is going to be weird when it comes to like marriage and things like that.
Right.
We
And
shouldn't
sleeping in the
sleep
same bed and stuff.
Shouldn't sleep in the same bed with people.
Okay.
We should sleep 6 feet away from anybody else.
I mean, I also felt like even outside of that, like I could have my king size bed, you can have your queen size bed, and then we could just invite each other to our own rooms and stuff like that.
That's how I feel. I'm like, if I'm in that situation where I live with a lover, we're gonna have to have 2 separate rooms and just have sleepovers. We just got to do it. Got to get our sleep. We have to.
And personally, oh, Alba, I got you. That's what's up. Email me so I can have your email, and then we could definitely schedule something. That's a huge thing. Like the first person who ever gave me a human design reading was that Pisces lady, and it was so amazing. She mentioned something that hit home. She's like, yeah, you're not meant to have willpower. Like you're not someone with energy. And I've always felt I'm supposed to have energy to do stuff. And it really helped me release that need, and to kind of embrace more of that. But yeah,
absolutely. One thing I also want to say, when it comes to projectors and the invitation is because a lot of people are like, well, what do we do? How do we get our invitations? So projectors do best when we deeply learn something. So if there's something you're interested in doing, just go crazy learning everything about it that you can learn, and then start, because you don't have to be invited to have a platform. Anything that doesn't have to do with somebody else, you can do, right? So then just start talking about what you know and what you're learning. You can inform people of what you are interested in. Inform. Thank you. Manifestors have to inform. That is what they have to do. They absolutely have to inform. Manifestors can do whatever they want as long as they inform people. And also the cool thing about manifestors, sorry, I didn't mean to get off track, but I wanted to mention this. The cool thing about manifestors is if they're pushing people away and pissing people off, it's a good thing. Elon Musk is a manifestor. He bought Twitter.
No wonder.
Everybody's pissed about it, but
just like he wanted.
Whatever he wants.
Just like he wanted.
He informed. As long as they inform, it's fine. And their energy is so like that it's meant to push people away that are not supposed to be in their sphere.
You said like, I love that.
It's what it is. It just is what it is. They're bad bitches like that. But yes, when you're waiting for an invitation, you can teach, you can tell people about your interests. When I wanted to get out of New York, I got on my Facebook and I said, I need a break from New York. My friend Rose was like, oh, I'm in Mexico shooting this show. Go stay in my house in Atlanta. Invitation. Cool. And since I've been here, we've gotten our show back on track. You know what I mean? Like she's working on trying to get me into some work, but there is a strike right now. So there's a lot going on. And so much has happened because I changed my environment. Environment is such a huge issue. If your environment is not working out, no matter what your type is, you just need to change your environment. And the second person who hit me up when I said I need to get out of New York was the guy that I just started dating. He was like, yo, let me take you on a hiking trip.
Is he a generator?
He is a generator and a sacral generator. So I gave him something to respond to. You know what
Mm,
I mean? By saying that I wanted to get out of New York, that gave him something to respond to. And he gave me an invitation. So that's kind of the thing. As projectors, we just have to know how to like throw the line out there and let people come to us.
okay. Like if I'm like if there's a generator that's overseas and I'm like, hey, I'm in your neck of the woods and I'm doing this event. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of inviting, hey, come through if you want, I guess I could just let them know, hey, it's a
Just send them a fire and they
right.
can be like, oh, I'm excited. I want to go do that. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
And
Right there.
someone had asked, what is an incarnation cross?
Oh, yes. Incarnation cross. Forgive me because that is something that I'm getting into right now. And I have a hard time with the like exact definition of that. But it's like right angle, left angle, and
Right.
uh, there's one that's more rare. But one has to do with like I think the right angle, which I believe I am. Let me actually look up mine because that's something that I'm in my personal experiment that I'm learning and trying to kind of understand about myself. Um, I'm a left angle cross of refinement. And so left angle people, uh-oh, where did we go? There we go. Left angle people are here to have deeply interpersonal relationships. So it's like we've lived, and this is interesting to me too, because I've always joked that I was in my like in the last lives club. That like if karma is a thing, and I also feel this way about eighth house stelliums, that like we've lived so many lives, and like we choose that like eighth house or Capricornian, like very Saturnian life because we want to dump all that karma and like, not do this shit again.
Right.
And so, what I've learned about the left angle cross is that we're not here to make any more karma. We're here to live deeply interpersonal relationships, like clear our karma. Right angle people are here to make all the karma in the world and have very unique personal experiences in this life, which I think is kind of why we have so much like friction between people with more socialist collectivist mentalities and
Right.
people who can be very individualist, because there's a lot of newer souls here and right angle people that are most people that are here to just live life for themselves.
That's
Yes,
so
our karma is tied to those of others. Human design is so deep. Juxtaposition, thank you. That's the third one. That is the one that I couldn't remember. And which I think is the rarest one. Um, and I looked that up recently because I was listening to a lecture on it. It's like the bridge between the right and the left angles. And they make up about 3% of the population. And I think that's really fascinating. So yeah, forgive me because incarnation cross is something that I'm newer to. When I so for my own chart, I actually just bought the my body graph, so I was able to like see all the advanced information about it. Um, I'm not exactly sure how you could just look at the chart without kind of buying into it and know for yourself. Right, my brain hurts, but I love this info. I feel you. It's a lot of information. I would say in my journey, I'm at the point where I'm deeply trying to like live through my profile. So I'm a 6'2", which is a role model hermit. Um, and understanding that really taught me a lot about where I'm at in my life. So for six lines, we have three different phases of life, right? You have your three line phase, which is like before your Saturn return, where you're just like trial and error, out there living, figuring it out. And then you go on the roof in your later 30s. And then all of a sudden, it's like life stops for you. And you just kind of are there to observe. So I'm in a phase of my life now, and then talking about being the great observer. where I'm just observing. I have a very small, quiet life. It's not that I don't do anything at all. But if you knew me in my 20s, you would be like, what happened to her? You know what I mean? Because I was everywhere. I was a world traveler. I was doing everything everywhere. I had so much more energy. And after my Saturn return, which my 33rd year of life rocked me in a way that really made me want to just go in the house for a while. And so learning that that's really around the time that your Saturn return like really completes, that makes sense to me. And
Yeah.
then around like 35, 36, you're like really, you're going on the roof and you're really on the roof if you're a six line. And then in your 50s, you come back down off the roof so you can be out in the world with all the things that you learned while you were on the roof. It's a really interesting lifeline. That's also why we tend to look a lot younger because we just have a longer, more expanded lifeline.
That's beautiful. And I remember in between human design and astrology, someone did introduce me to gene keys, which also felt like something very in depth, and I it was just a different language to me. So uh,
Yeah, I this is like the third time this week that someone's mentioned gene keys, which is another area to go into with human design. I think gene keys was so it's interesting because there were a group of students that studied directly under Ra, and I know gene keys was made by one of those students, but it wasn't necessarily just in the original, you know what I mean, like system that Ra came up with.
hmm,
So it's interesting. I haven't gone as deeply into gene keys. Yeah, they're tied into all the different gates.
that's good to know.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
this was a very amazing talk. Everyone in the chat really loved it as well, and we're definitely gonna have you back on to expand on this. See what's up with you. I do understand you're doing the six line soiree. Could you really speak on that more? And I do have the link down below. Could you explain how people can join that if they're interested?
Oh, totally. So if you're interested in joining, if you're a six sign, meaning you have six anywhere in your profile, please consider joining. I'm telling all the secrets of my life. Basically, I was invited by a friend who I kind of mentor in life a little bit. And she said, Cheryl, why don't you just teach your experience, which is what we should be doing as six signs anyway. We are role models. And so what I developed is a course. Well, it's not even a course. It's 6 sessions. In each session, I've been talking about very specific things. So I talked about religion and spirituality and basically went through my life like so far with that relationships, romantic, and then family and friends. I'm talking about career this week and how unserious it is for like six lines. And then the last one is I'll talk about mental health. So if you join still, right now it's half off. So it's $35. I'm doing like the profile line pricing. It was $62. Now it's 35 because all the live I'm done with most of the lives, but you'll still get the replays of them and you'll get in the Discord. And then we have two more main live sessions and then one live session that's going to be a Q&A. And I'll also invite my friends and family to kind of talk through some of the things that I discussed. But basically what I've done is broken down my life as a six line. And Linus is in the six line soiree. So Linus could probably tell you some things about it because he's
Nice.
also on the Discord. Even though he's not even a six line, he just wanted to roll through.
Wait.
But he has a three line, I think. So it's fine. But because if you're a three line, it will work for you as well because you are a part of what six lines go through early in life. And what I'm finding doing it is that a lot of six lines have very similar life experiences, and that's why I wanted to do this. Just teach through all of the experiences I've had and make my whole life before I went on the roof mean something by just giving it away to
Yeah.
people. And it's been really healing for me because it feels like putting my old life to rest. And yeah, so I would love it if you guys would still join. I would say don't just buy it from that link. You can if you want to just support in full. But if I think I gave you my link tree, if you want to just join my Discord and donate directly $35, you can do it for half off. And as long as you're in the Discord, then you'll have all the links when we go live. And I do a vote every week for what time and day that we're going to go live so that we can all kind of be in sync together. And all the links to the past Six Line Story sessions are in the Discord as well. So it's easy peasy. It's kind of casual.
I love it.
But I would, if you guys would join me. It's been a beautiful experience, and so far it's been really helpful to people who have been there.
And how can people reach out to you if they want to, like, connect more with you or get your services?
Oh yeah, here I'll put my kind of Chezza out of nowhere easy at gmail.com. I'll put it in the chat as well. And yeah, just email me. I took the astro readings and things off my site, but for fam and for people that I'm like connecting to, I'm still choosing to do them at will. And also just join the Discord. You don't even have to be a Six Line to join the Discord. It's called the Rooftop because it's for everybody that's into astrology, human design, anything like that. And then you can also DM me there on Discord as well. So I'm reachable. And check out my YouTube channel. I've had this channel since 2013, but I'm just not someone who's really good at putting myself out there in the way that the algorithm likes. You know what I mean? So I'm working on
Algorithm
it.
battles. I feel you.
Yeah.
No, I feel Northern Aries will shift that for all of us too. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I believe that. I do. But yeah, this was great. I'm willing to do it. And I definitely would love to do that workshop with you. I can get my like projector study on real hard and
Cool.
take some great notes and come up with a good workshop with you. So that'd be cool.
I'm definitely down for that. If anything, I'll think up of how, and then I'll approach it this Leo or Virgo season, and then we could get that done.
Oh,
Make sure y'all show her love. I do have her YouTube channel down in the description box below, and her email. If you refresh the video, you will see it there. Chezza, thank you so much. I noticed Aries is the 11, so it's like that North Node transit. You're finding your voice as you find your tribe. Third house for
yeah.
your son. So that's really beautiful.
I'm excited about that. Yeah.
And thank you so much once again. We love to have you here, and yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. You guys have a blessed week as always. And until next time, peace out.
I'll see y'all in the chat in an hour.